This single prize Onix from Pokemon 151 can deal 400 damage super reliably. Well, super reliably. Let's talk about that in a little more detail. Thumperlanche is the attack that we are looking at in this particular card. It costs 2 colorless energy and then deals 80 damage times the number of Pokemon that you discard from the top 5 cards of your deck that have a retreat cost of exactly 4. So suddenly this has gotten a little bit more difficult. Now Onix itself has 4 retreats, so if you discard Onix from the top of your deck, that will be 80 damage. But what we need to do is we need to find firstly Pokemon that have 4 retreat and then find out a way to recycle them so that we can continually discard them and take big knockouts with Onix. Now, ironically enough, one of the best single prize attackers in the game, that is Unfazed Fat Snorlax, also has a 4 retreat cost. This is great because it means that we can attack with Snorlax with Thumping Snore, 180 damage, and then we're asleep. We flip 2 coins instead of 1. If we don't necessarily have an Onix powered up or ready to go, we can attack with the Snorlax in the early game, and then in the late game we can shuffle it back into the deck and discard it using Onix. Now, our list features multiple copies of Super Rod to shuffle those Pokemon back in, as well as a copy of Team Yell's Cheer, which will allow us to shuffle in any combination of 3 Pokemon or supporter cards from our discard pile to our deck. That means that potentially we can shuffle in every single Pokemon that we have in the late game and give ourselves as good a chance as possible to deal 400 damage with Snorlax. Now, we will be attacking with double Turbo Energy, which is going to reduce the amount of damage we deal by 20, but we can also increase that damage again by using the supporter card Grant. Grant says that during our turn, our fighting Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage. That is fantastic, and we can reuse this card over and over again because it has the effect, if it's in your discard pile, discard 2 cards from your hand and return Grant to your hand. That is incredible, and it means that we can deal 410 damage super easily, even attacking with that double turbo. Now, we are also going to need some extra consistency to thin out our deck as quickly as possible, so Refinement Kirlia as well as Shining Arcana Gardevoir are going to be super useful cards. They'll allow us to get most of the cards that we don't want from our deck into the discard pile, so that the last few turns we only have those big 4 retreat Pokemon, like this Stonjourner here, who I've included because it's fighting type and we have fighting type energy. I hope I never have to attack with it, but hey, it's in the deck. So here is the list. It's down in the description as well. A pretty solid, fun deck for you to play on the casual ladder. Hopefully I can show off the strength of Thumperlanche and Onix, and hopefully this 4 retreat cost behemoth can do some serious damage for me. I'm in different clothes and have had a haircut. Let's play. We've got double Ralts here. No Onix is not that big of a problem because we can obviously get it later, but the hand that we currently have is a bit of a problem. On the opponent's side of the field, though, a real positive, we're up against Miraidon. So that means that every time we attack with Onix, we only need a couple of Pokemon to be able to get 1-hit knockout. So hopefully that is a benefit for us. We'll wait and see. We've got a Snorlax in the active, so we might be able to attack with that, potentially, with a Thumping Snore, but you never know. It's gonna be a tricky one, I think. I'm not 100% sure how this is gonna work, but we do at least have a Kirlia. We can discard the Grant. We're gonna be fine, and it looks like our opponent setting up relatively well. A Hawlucha as well. Okay, so we're gonna ping these Ralts on the bench a little bit, make it a bit easier for maybe a Zapdos to take a knockout. That could be a play, or they could just bench down a Squawkabilly and use that instead. That's also perfectly fine. We'll wait and see. I assume my opponent just doesn't know what we're playing, and we don't know what cards we're going to be playing either, because Iono has been used, so we'll see whether or not we get anything. That's just as bad a hand, frankly. I mean, we've got exactly the same amount of good cards here, except now we have an energy to attach, I suppose. Like, I mean, I guess. Are they going to attach an energy? Maybe they're going to pass, give us some time to set up. Maybe we can attach to the, they hadn't even squawked and seized yet. There's so much more stuff for them to do. Oh, boy. I mean, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. As long as we can set our board up a smidge, get some attackers in play, a couple of Kirlias maybe, then we should be fine. There's a collapsed stadium from our opponent. That'll get rid of the Squawk ability, no doubt. Oh, Lucha. Okay, fair enough. Just to reduce the bench size a bit, make it a bit easier for them to play the game, and then a pass to us. All right, so what we're looking for here, if we can find it. Oh, double Kirlia. That's very cool. Very nice. Alright. What we're looking for here, if we can find it, is an attack with an Onix. But I'm not necessarily expecting that to happen. So what I would settle for, quite frankly, is an attachment to the Snorlax to force them to take a knockout. That would be definitely pretty handy. Now, we've got the Gutsy Pickaxe here. Oh, okay, I wasn't expecting to get the energy. We may as well put that on the Ralts, I suppose. Like, I mean, we have to attach it. And then let's attach to the Snorlax here. This is good. We can Escape Rope now, push one of their Pokemon into the active, maybe something that they're not going to be able to attack with. We can put the Ralts in the active and save our Snorlax, just because we hit that, that lovely pickaxe. Alright. What do you think of this angle? I'm ever so... Normally, I'd be looking like here. Here is where the camera normally is, but today the camera's here, and I can't see half the screen, which is a bit of a pain, but I think I look nicer from this. I can't tell, because every time I look at my OBS, I'm looking over here, so I'll go like this. I don't really like this side of my face. I don't know, anyway. We need to get attacking pretty quickly, I'd imagine, but like I mentioned, we do have weakness on our side, so we can hit through a Miraidon, an attachment to the bench and the active, one with Flaffy, one from hand. And they'll be looking for a copy of Electricity Generator to attack with the Miraidon, or another Flaffy could do the job. We do have the Onix in our hand, so Thumpalanche is active, and if we hit heads, if we hit two Pokemon with 5 retreat from that attack, then we will take a knockout, I think, on most Pokemon on our opponent's side of the field. Let's see, though. Maybe it might be worth attacking with Thumping Snore, especially since we will be able to Raihan this turn. We could Raihan to the Snorlax. That's possible. We're going to definitely promote it, because we may as well put an attacker into the active. Drawing into double Onix here. This is very interesting. We're in a weird spot. I think Raihan to the Snorlax is probably not a bad idea. But let's start off with a refinement. We'll just chuck the Stonjourner into the discard pile. We have super odds. We can always get them back. And then we can refinement again. Discard another card from our hand. This time, let's go with the Onix. And look at that. A couple of solid cards. Nothing too crazy. But now we can just go for our little Raihan. We can Raihan onto the Onix. We can... let's get the DTE. We'll get the DTE of the Raihan. I meant to attach the energy to the Onix in the to the Snorlax in the active. That's okay. We're just gonna grab, I think, the double turbo and just double check that lots of these cards are here. We've got them. Double turbo. We can attach that to the Snorlax in the active. We've also got an attachment of basic fighting energy for next turn, so we can get an attack with that Snorlax. With the Onix, we'll be able to use our rod to shuffle stuff back in, and you never know, maybe our opponent gusts around this Snorlax and we get to keep it. You never know. Also, they might just not be able to attack, because Miraidon's attack can't be used 2 turns in a row unless you return to the bench, so that would be great. If they just sit here and do nothing. To be honest, if they sit here and do nothing and we don't flip double heads, we're not going to be able to do anything either. So it's kind of a little bit grim. Let's just have a look here. Anything interesting in our discard pile? Maybe not. We've got a couple of 4 retreat Pokemon though, so that's definitely worth considering. But we've got in our hand one of our 2 Gardevoirs. This is the Shining Arcana one, so we'll be able to draw some more cards with that, which I'm very much a fan of. Stonjourner in our hand isn't great. We can put that into our deck with an Iono, or we can discard it with Kirlia. That's also perfectly fine. Our opponent's going to retreat here, but they're not going to be attacking by the looks of things. They'll retreat to the Squawk ability. It's 160 HP, so that requires 2 Pokemon with 4 retreat cost for our Onix, because it's 80 times. So it will require 2, but it's also resisting fighting, so we'll need 3 if we want to knock it out. If we flip double heads, we can just attack into it with the Snorlax though, so no luck there. Double tails is the exact opposite result. So now it's probably time to just go for our Onix attack if we can. Like, I mean, we might just have to pass. We'll discard the Stonjourner. And at this point, we're starting to draw just into too many Pokemon. What do we got? 3. Let's Refinement again. We can throw away an Iono. Draw a couple of cards. We've got a Nest Ball. 3 Super Rods is way too many Super Rods for one man to have. So we'll probably just attach an energy. I'm going to put all of my money on finding a switch card to be able to attack with this Snorlax here. We've got Team Yell Cheer. I think that's probably fine, to be honest. We can also just play the Grunt. We can just pass, to be honest. Like, I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to retreat and knock out my Snorlax? That's fine. Let's just put the Grunt in the discard pile and pass. That's fine. I mean, it's not a particularly powerful turn. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's an incredible play, but it's definitely acceptable because in the end, we know that if we get 3 attacks off with Onix, we should be able to get enough knockouts to win. Right? So even if they do take KOs with Miraidon, every time they take a KO with a 2-prize Pokemon, we are that much closer to trying to win the game. So I think it's more just about drawing cards at this point. Oh, they're going to boss. Okay, they're going to boss an Onix. Well, that's fine. I mean, that's perfectly fine. They can boss the Onix, they'll take that KO, but we can just attack with Snorlax now, which is great. Or if we want, we can put the Onix in the active and attack with the fighting energy. The Snorlax is probably the better attacker, just because it's guaranteed. And the double turbo energy there is a handy one. We've got a couple of fighting energies, which is good. What I can do is I can potentially Refinement. We might get rid of like the Iono or the Snorlax. The Snorlax isn't a bad idea. Hitting an Onix off the top there is not bad either. It's not ideal because we kind of want to hold on to those Pokemon in the deck if we can. Let's Level Ball. We can Level Ball for a Ralts. Probably should have actually used Nest Ball, to be honest, to get that Ralts, but that's fine. We can bench it anyway. We've got double Nest Ball, triple Super Rod, plus Team Yell, which is pretty gosh darn good. And yeah, we can just bench this next Onix and Thumping Snore. Yell will also put a couple of Pokemon back into the deck, which I like. We'll put in a couple of 4 retreat Pokemon. That seems pretty good. Let's chuck those back in there for later. We can also Super Rod, put in a couple of Pokemon. We've got some Snorlaxes, Stonjourner, sorry, and a Fighting Energy, which I like. Chuck them in there. Thumping Snore for 2 prizes. And now we're 2 attacks away from winning the game. And we've got 2 Onix on the field, plus a Snorlax to be able to knock out that Squawkabilly if we need to. So that'll be great. Take out 2 prizes. We get the Double Turbo and the Kirlia. So very handy. The Kirlia can evolve our routes on the bench. And we flip heads and a tail, so no Awakening just yet, but our opponent will probably have to deal with this Snorlax at some point. Like, they can't just leave it. Can't just keep gusting around it, because it will eventually take enough knockouts to win the game. Plus, we also have the Onix on the bench ready to attack. So, looking pretty solid. Thumperlanche, such a good attack. We'll see whether or not we can get it here. Here comes an Electric Generator from our opponent. No energy, though, so that's a bit of a concern for them. They can Forest Sealstone here onto their Raikou to search for any card out of their deck, using a V-Star power that Miraidon EX does not use. Let's wait and see what our opponent is going to do. You'd think that they'd need to attach to Miraidon to attack, which is obviously required, but, I mean, they're only... They're 4 prizes away from the game, so they've got 4 attacks until they win. So they definitely need to keep attacking, but we only need to attack 2 more times. I don't even know what that sentence was about. That sentence was a very poor example of a sentence. I mean, it was technically a sentence, but that's it. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Comment down below as well, by the way. What other cards are you interested in seeing from 151? I've got a ton. I've got a ton of bloody cards that we can talk about. There's heaps of them. Heaps of them. There's heaps. No, seriously, there's a lot. So we can definitely keep going. Plus, I still have Obsidian Flames cards that we need to take a look at. So we'll keep those in mind as well. Our opponent knocks out our Onix again. So once more leaving that Snorlax in play, which means we can find a boss and take a knockout. But right now, the Onix that we have is looking pretty good. We can throw that double turbo energy down. We can Refinement away one of these Nest Balls. That's pretty good. We can just keep drawing cards, I guess. Like, the key is just to thin our deck out here and give ourselves as many Pokemon in deck as possible. Although it might be a point now where maybe we just Nest Ball for another Onix and just try and roll the dice. How many Pokemon with 4 retreat are in there? There's 4. 4 out of a whole bunch of cards, so that's 4 out of 19. We need to hit 2 to be able to get the attack off to knock out this Raikou. Let's discard the Stonjourner. Throw that away. Drawing into 2 of them is not good, but, you know, it happens. We'll play the Gutsy Pickaxe. I think, no, we don't need to. It's just Super Rod. We'll play the Gutsy Pickaxe. We'll play it. What's the harm? What's the harm in that? Then we can Super Rod. We'll throw in an Onix and the Stonjourner. We need to hit those Pokemon. And now, what is there? 4 out of 18. We need to hit 2. I think it's probably best to just... probably shouldn't Iono, right? Probably shouldn't do that. Because then we put 2 Pokemon, but they go to the bottom of the deck. What we could do is we could Grant. We could use the effective Grant here to discard 2 Pokemon. Don't mind that. Discard those. We'll play the Grant as our supporter, and then we can shuffle back in 2 more Pokemon with our Super Rod. Now, I didn't do that as efficiently as I could have, and if I'd spotted that a little sooner, then we would have been better. But we're going to discard the top 5 cards of our deck. We need to hit 2. 340 damage means that we hit 2, so that's great. That's fantastic news. We discard those 2 Pokemon, take 2 prizes, and now we are 1 knockout away from winning this game. And like I've mentioned, we can always just take a knockout with the Snorlax on the benched Squawkabilly if we find Boss. Although now that I'm thinking about it, do I even run Boss in this deck? I can't even remember. This is one of the... I don't know what that noise was. This is one of the issues with recording the games days after you've recorded the deck profile. I thought I was being efficient, but maybe not. That's okay. It's going to be fine. Also, I do know what that sound is. That sound is the sound of someone subscribing. So someone just like you who has clicked the subscribe button to see more of these videos on their home feed. Although, to be fair, the most important thing that you can do is click them and watch them for the entire time that they are on your screen. Which is why I try and make them short. 15 minutes is a pretty reasonable amount of time. I try and be entertaining. I try to be. I know that I'm not necessarily 100% of the time, but, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm giving it a crack. What more can you ask? What more can you ask of a person? I've just hit my microphone. I'm sorry, microphone. I don't... Can you hear that? I don't know. Alright. We can win this game. We can do it. All we need to do is have an attack with Thumpalanche, and we can win. I'll throw it out there. This deck's really bad. Don't play this. Like, now that you've watched all the way, the only reason that I've got a chance is because I've got weakness. This deck is just atrocious. But, hey, listen, it's fun. It's fun, and it works. It's physically working, and to be fair, our opponent doesn't necessarily win next turn, right? Because we can still win the game, even if we miss this turn. I would prefer not to miss this turn. That is just a straight-up fact. Let's Nest Ball. We can get rid of a card that isn't... well, okay, there's 4 cards in there. We're going to discard 5. We've got 2 boss in the deck, so they are there. They are available to us. Don't dislike that. We've got 5 cards to discard and 4 Pokemon that have the appropriate number of retreat. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw... There's the boss. So you know what? If we had managed to... If we'd promoted the Snorlax, we would have won the game here. Let's get rid of the Iono. We drew into 1 Pokemon, and our opponent conceded. Well, we'll never know what would have happened in that game, but I know that you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you did. Hopefully you enjoyed Onix winning a game, which is crazy to me that it won. Thanks everyone for watching. I appreciate you coming past as always. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you next time for more from the Sableyes. Goodbye. I don't know if I like Onix. I think it's bad.